We have to start tonight with that remarkable survival story. I've rarely seen a story like this. Now, you've seen during the day how this unfolded. 4 Australian surfers, they were on a 30th birthday Indonesian surf safari. We all feared for their safety. They've now been found alive, as we know, after 36 hours in the water on their surfboards after their resort boat sank off Aceh. Now...
Wait. Yes! Yes! Woo! Elliot! Where's Elliot? That's Artie, right? Yeah, have you got Elliot?
That's some of the most extraordinary coverage live of a rescue I've ever seen. And you hear when the rescuers pause because one of their 4 is not there. Brilliant coverage, I must say, on Sky today, including live coverage. Now, I've been around media for a very long time, and I've been at some unfolding disasters that ended badly and some that have ended well. But this live coverage from the Sydney home of one of the survivors, Father Peter Foote, the dad of the missing surfer Elliot today, was unbelievable. I still can't believe how calm that father was. I would have been curled up in a corner in a heap. This is one of the great survivor good news stories of our time, and the 4 owe their lives to another Aussie. Now, I'd love to hear from him, Grant Richardson, who lives on one of the islands in that area and used his luxury catamaran to search through the night before finding 3 of the 4 afloat on their boards. Now, Elliot Foote bravely had paddled toward another island to try and raise the alarm. Now, that's the sort of good news we all need. And how wonderful it was when Paul Foote, the dad, when asked by Sky if he wanted his son to ditch the rest of his holiday, his 30th birthday celebration, and come home, he said, no, they've got another 8 days. I reckon they should enjoy the rest of their holiday.
No, I want him to finish his holiday. You know, I'm sure they're all fine there. If the surf's great and the weather's come good and they're having a great time and they're with their best mates, you know, there's no point in him coming home.
I suspect the son got his attitude from his father. That is just extraordinary stuff. It's wonderful, it's optimistic, and a stroke of luck in what could have been a dreadful tragedy. And speaking of unfolding tragedies, at the same time Australia today was celebrating that remarkable rescue, the people of the United States stayed up late. Now, on the East Coast, this was at 11 o'clock at night, to witness the unsealing of yet another criminal indictment against the former President, Donald Trump. Now, here's a little of what the Attorney General of Georgia, and I watched this live, Fani Willis, in a triumphant mood, it seemed to me, revealed late at night about the charges that were going to be taken against Donald Trump, state laws about racketeering.
The defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
She seemed like she was celebrating to me. I don't know about you, but she seemed quite triumphant that she might be able to be the one to get the scalp of Donald Trump. She's given the former president and his lawyer, Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, until Friday week to turn themselves in. 19 people in total have been mentioned in that indictment. Luckily for us, we have live on the program later this hour a great friend of Donald Trump's, Nigel Farage. I want to ask Nigel if he fears that the United States might not now be facing a potentially explosive time as this pursuit of Donald Trump intensifies. Now, I ask that because watching that live today and that Attorney General, I was intrigued by these comments from that Attorney General when she remarks on local police protecting her and her staff as they investigated this latest charge against the former president.
I would also like to thank the men and women of Sheriff Labatt's office for keeping the courthouse open, but most importantly for keeping us safe over the weeks and months that have led up to this indictment, and for what I know they will continue to do to keep us safe.
We saw scenes outside that courthouse where the police had the streets sealed off. Now, what exactly is she suggesting there? That somehow the Trump supporters might attempt some sort of physical harm toward her and her team. I have a very bad feeling about the United States at the moment and where it's heading. And back home, and I'll talk to one of the farmer protesters shortly, who brought the CBD of Melbourne to a standstill today. They had farm tractors, around 40 of them, circling the state parliament in Spring Street. It was a mobile rural protest to highlight what they say is going to be agricultural vandalism, with hundreds of kilometres of newly erected transmission lines and towers. They're just going to plough them straight through their private properties.
Going through some of the most productive agricultural land in the state.
It's a change of land use on a mammoth scale.
If we've got 80-metre tall towers, why would any of Melbourne leave their homes to come out and visit the district?
I feel so sorry for those farmers. Australian farmers at the moment are angry, and it's not about money, interestingly. It's about history, it's about heritage, and in its simplest form, it's about food production. And this form of protest is not confined to Melbourne. Sydney will see it as well, and last week in Brisbane, the Prime Minister was heckled over the same issue. He was forced into a closed-door meeting with some of those farmers there. We'll have Queensland Senator Matt Canavan on the panel shortly, and I'll ask him how much of a case the farmers actually have. I think it's a huge problem for Anthony Albanese and the Labor government, and it's a stark reminder for all those inner-city green renewable fans that it's well and good for them to be happily carpeting the bush with giant wind farm towers and acres of on-ground solar panels that they won't see, of course, unless they do a road trip. They can sit back in their Newtown and Brunswick houses feeling warm and fuzzy. I'll get the panel on that and the rest of the day's news shortly.